All right, well, Mike Dellosa, thank you so much for joining me here in the Future of the Human Experience. It's great to have someone from a completely new industry that we haven't had a chance to talk on this podcast, but also more importantly, a friend that we've been able to build a wonderful friendship over the last several months with our kids and our families coming together. But again, Mike, thank you so much for joining me in the Future of the Human Experience.
Yeah, appreciate being here, Eric, and thanks for the invite.
Yeah. So Mike, tell us a little bit more about you have an awesome sweater on right now. You have this wonderful ring also you're going to share with us. Tell us a little more about what you do in the sports world today.
Yeah, I'm very fortunate that I like to say I work in fantasy land because, I work in professional sports, Major League Baseball, Arizona Diamondbacks, and that's the only thing I've ever done. I graduated college in 2007 and immediately went working for a minor league baseball team in Texas. So I graduated in December and I was in Texas in January working for the Frisco Rough Riders. And I did that for a summer and then ended up that same year landing a job with the D-backs selling season tickets. And that was about 17 years ago. So very lucky that I get to work in the sport that I grew up watching and playing and loving. And yeah, it doesn't really feel like work to me. And and people always say that, that's kind of the goal, but lucky that I've been able to do something that I'm passionate about, that also helps people, brings joy to people's lives, I think most importantly, and is just, this kind of stuff is fun too, right? Like, we had a pretty exciting playoff run last year. The team kind of snuck in to the postseason and then got hot at the right time and made it all the way to the World Series. That was my obviously first experience in the World Series. And I try to find the right times to bust this puppy out, and thought today was appropriate.
Awesome. No, I love that. That's so cool. And just to give the audience a behind the scenes too, because our families know each other, you're always checking in too. It's like, hey, can I share this with our friends first? And then I was like, yeah, man, you could come on and share it with us, right? But thank you for bringing that up. But also, what I think is really cool about your job, and especially your tenure in sports, is that you've been part of the sports industry also in the midst of this rapid growth of technology, right? And the role technology gets to play in sports today. Just to give us a grasp of what role it plays today, and then we'll go backwards a little bit. But what role does technology play today in the work that you get to do to reach out to customers and connect with customers and bring them to the stadiums?
Right. Technology today is basically involved in every aspect of what we do. From the, I'll kind of walk through the process. So if you want to buy a ticket, you go on our website and you pull up a seating map. It'll show you exactly which seats are available. They'll be illuminated a certain color. You click on it, it'll pull up a picture of the view from that exact seat. We had a company come through and map our entire ballpark and take different images from different sections. So, it's tailored to show you exactly what you're going to see when you get to the ballpark. Our tickets are completely digital. There's no more paper tickets. There's no more will call. You walk up and, get your ticket at the window. That has certainly changed since I started working in sports. So you have your digital ticket, you show up. We have even new security scanners that we installed a couple of years ago where no longer are you emptying your pockets and pulling out your wallet. You just kind of zip right through. Show your ticket, you scan, you walk in. You can order concessions from your phone now. Our season ticket holders, they have an app on their phone where they can access discount cards and items and experiences throughout the game. And everything's meant to be a digital experience. Even when you're at the ballpark, an exciting play happens on the field and you want to see the replay. You pull up your phone, you go to the MLB At Bat app. And within minutes, that role play or that replay is right there in the palm of your hand, and you can watch it there. So technology has definitely impacted the in-game experience. As far as our selling efforts, it's huge. It's involved in everything we do. When I first started, and again, I'm starting to get to the age where I tell these stories, and it really makes me sound like back in my day. But literally, my first job in ticket sales was with the Cleveland Browns, and they handed me a stack of papers with names and phone numbers, and I had a phone there, and it was one of those almost not rotary, but one of those old looking phones. And I'm just calling down the list. Those days are completely gone. Now our sales efforts are extremely targeted to the point where, if you get any type of outreach from us, whether it be a call or an email, there's multiple reasons for that. It's not just that you live in Phoenix. It could be you live in Phoenix, you attended a D-backs game in the last 3 months, You have children in your household who are sports fans. You've attended other live sporting events or entertainment events in Phoenix.
Oh wow.
All these different kind of factors play into it, and it helps. It makes life easier for our salespeople, but it also makes things better for the customer because they're not caught off guard. And there's times where we'll call someone to talk to them about D-backs tickets, and they'll say, "Oh my gosh, I was just thinking about buying Diamondbacks tickets." I'm like, "Yes, that's because our technology is working." So those are a few of the big reasons or the big ways that I think technology has impacted the way we do things.
And Mike, to give our audience a grasp of kind of the breadth and the depth of the work that your team does, is our D-backs stadium here, Chase Field, is how big? How many people?
It's one of the biggest ballparks in baseball. It is 49,000
49,000 seats. All right, so 49,000 seats. You subtract the season ticket holders, which those are basically tickets that are already been sold before the season starts, which is about approximately
right around 8,000.
8,000. So that gives you about 40,000 tickets to sell every single game day, which times what? 81?
81
games. Oh my God, that's a few mil. I'm assuming that.
Yeah, I'm no mathematician, but that is millions of seats of individual tickets that we can potentially sell for every game. Now, do we accomplish that feat? No. To be able to sell out Chase Field 81 times would put us literally number one in attendance in Major League Baseball. So that would be, someday we hope to get there. But we average right around 28 to 30,000, which is and a lot of that has to do with the run last year and how excited our fan base is at the moment. But no, to your point, we have to get extremely creative to sell tickets to Diamondbacks games. It's not just come out and watch the D-backs play. It's come out and celebrate our Mexican Heritage Night, and everyone gets a hat, and there's pregame festivities and food trucks, or come out to actually tonight is Faith and Family Night. So it's our biggest group sales effort of the year. We have a post-game concert with a Christian rock band, and actually tonight is the largest group sales night in D-backs history because of that. Thank you. Well, not thanks to me, it's the team and everything that's going on in our staff. But
and there's Star Wars nights,
Stranger Things. We have this Saturday we're giving out a replica of this ring, and the first 30,000 fans at the game tomorrow. And that creates a lift. We also have an organization called Donate Life that's bringing out thousands of people tomorrow to the game. So when you look at the Diamondbacks attendance, and you look at any given game, and you see 25,000, 28,000, 32,000, a lot of that is manufactured by our marketing team, our sales team, layering different theme nights and initiatives, whether it's student pass for college students that can get in at a discount, these group theme nights, these marketing efforts, promotional giveaways. A lot kind of plays into getting us into that upper echelon. Sometimes we do achieve that sellout. Holidays, Father's Day, 4th of July, opening day. We have the Dodgers come in a couple of weeks, and that'll be a tough series. But that Saturday game is projected to be a sellout, which would be pretty exciting. So, but it's a challenge, and that's why I'm employed. If it was easy to sell out those games, I'm not here, my staff isn't here, and I wouldn't have as many gray hairs. But
And Mike, one of the things too that I find fascinating about a role like yours, and even when I have a chance right now to speak either different speakers or different folks around the communities, is that they think that I need to have a title of sales to actually be in the sales game. And one of the things I've learned about building this business, or even when I speak to other folks who are building their businesses, is that no, you always have to be good at sales, regardless of what role that you're in, either in corporate America or outside or building your own business. Your ability to be comfortable in the sales game is important. And it seems that's something that you started off your career on already for almost 2 decades now. What are some of those skills that you would recommend someone to be like, hey, just be comfortable on being, I guess, uncomfortable?
Yes.
On putting yourself in these type of situations in sales.
One of my favorite topics, because I think sometimes people hear the word sales or selling and they immediately go to a business transaction. And yes, that is a part of sales. But sales is a human skill. It is, we are selling every day, whether we realize it or not. There's actually a great book. It's called To Sell is Human by Daniel Pink. And he's an incredible thought leader. And he argues that, selling is happening all around us at any given moment. In fact, one of the, we're both married. One of the biggest sales we ever closed was asking our wives to marry us, right? I mean, that's selling.
Yeah.
You think about the college you chose to go to, that college is selling you on going to that college. I even think back to, friend groups in college or high school. You're all kind of getting together. What should we do tonight? Where should we go? And someone steps up and says, hey, let's go to this party. Or let's go to this, restaurant or whatever it is. Like, that's selling. You're trying to convince people. You're trying to influence other people. So it's a skill that is paramount to everything we do. And whether you're in sales or not, even going into like a job interview, you have to sell yourself to that company. That is selling. So I encourage people all the time, there's a lot of books out there, a lot of podcasts, a lot of resources that will teach you the skills to be good at sales. Doesn't necessarily mean you have to be a salesperson. But, for instance, there's a book that was written almost 100 years ago. It's called How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. And, it's a widely known text now. But he basically talks about fundamental little basic tips and tricks to approach other people, make them warm up to your ideas and your way of thinking. And it's brilliant. And that, I read that book when I was, I think, 22 or 23. Wow. And I almost felt like someone had given me a cheat code to how to talk to human beings. So that's all selling really is. And it's not arguing with somebody. It's not convincing, trying to like strong arm someone into thinking of your ideas. It's basically connecting with another person, finding out what they want, what matters to them. And then in a certain way, making your case for either yourself or your idea or your product, and and that's what runs the world. Sales runs the world. It runs the economy. It runs everything we do. We're selling 100% of the time in every interaction we have, and sometimes we don't even realize we're doing it. When you think of sales, don't just automatically assume a business transaction or a salesperson. It's just a human skill that can benefit you in everything you do.
And that's a great perspective, and I appreciate that, because especially now in this space that we are all connected in some form or fashion, our ability to share our voice and to tell our stories and to position our own personal brands is essentially also a portion of selling, right? Like, we are out there positioning ourselves, selling our thought leaderships, our insights, or what have you, and connecting with folks that, again, because in this digital era, that our barriers of connecting with them have gone down. There's a lot of noise, but the way you create a signal in that noise is being very authentic and selling yourself, right?
That's it. Yeah, skepticism is way up right now, and people are more skeptical than ever. And we've learned that even through our marketing efforts. You can't try to be cute and trick people into certain things. You mentioned the word authenticity. What sells today is an authentic message. It is, this is what we are, this is who we are, this is what we're selling, this is what it can do for you, period. So you've kind of, you've watched commercials on TV and advertisements, you'll see, we've kind of shifted away from these like storytelling, grandiose ads, and things are more raw and real and authentic. And I think that's a good thing, because you can't hide behind a cute little sales slogan anymore. It has to, the deliverables have to be real and authentic, and your product has to deliver. Because here's the other thing too, that didn't exist 20, 30 years ago. If your product isn't what you say it is, or you're selling, snake oil or what have you, the internet's going to kill you, because you can go onto a million different social platforms, review websites, Yelp, all these different things, and just completely torch your company. And once you're gone there, once you Google your company's name or product and negative things pop up, you're toast. So you have to be very protective of that brand and making sure your product is authentic.
And that's interesting you say that, for an industry that sells an experience that's results driven, that you don't control, right? Like, I mean, I'm going to go to the game, I'm going to go and root for the D-backs. Even though, to clarify to the audience, I'm an Astros fan, but still root for the D-backs when I go out there. But at the end of the day, they might win, they might lose, but you're still trying to create a really cool experience for myself, for the family, for whoever it's going there, right? I mean, and that's really, I think that's a fascinating notion of sports. But with that said too, I think what's fascinating about the sports industry today, y'all are now competing, because technology is becoming much more prevalent in our daily lives. You're now competing with staying at home in watching the game in a big screen TV, watching the replays as many times as I want or what have you, or pausing it and catching up later. How has that been over the last few years for y'all to navigate the stay-at-home experience to watch something versus going to the stadium and watching the experience?
It's a great question, and every sport and every league is battling that, right? So, and we need the at-home viewer. We need fans to watch the games at home because they're still connected and part of the team. But nothing beats going to a live sporting event with a packed house and the energy of the crowd. And we were talking offline, but there's just data that came out recently that says going to a sporting event, a live sporting event, can actually make you happier. They can show through science and data and surveying that your happiness goes up, your loneliness goes down. There's this connected energy that you feel being at a sporting event. So we try to play into that. We try to tap into that. And you mentioned not being able to control the product. You're absolutely right. I can't help the D-backs win or lose. But I say that we need to focus on moments rather than outcomes. So if you think about the best sporting event or best sports memories you have as a spectator, as watching the games, as a kid, even now, it's very rarely the outcome. What was the best game you went to? Oh, it was a game when the Astros won 9-2. It's like, you probably don't remember the score, but you say, what was the best game you ever been to? Oh my gosh, it was this moment where, either this player did something spectacular, made an amazing catch, or my son got up on the Jumbotron and was waving and we were all excited. It's like those little moments, and those can happen in a game where you're losing and a game where you're winning. Those can happen in a losing season and winning season. We try to promote and capture moments. And that's, what's really cool about what we do is we're in the business of creating lifelong memories. We tell our staff every time, every D-backs game, any one of the 81 games, someone is probably there for the first time ever. It could be their first D-backs game, could be their first baseball game, could be their first time attending a live sporting event. That's pretty cool. On top of that, someone in that stadium, someone out of those 28,000 people is going to have a memory occur tonight that they will take with them the rest of their lives. And that's powerful too. And we get to help facilitate that and create that and foster that. In our darkest moments when the team's, scuffling or losing, or, a couple of years ago, we had a 110 loss season. It was something pretty extreme. I tell our staff, and we try to remind ourselves of this. If you go stand outside of the gates at the end of a D-backs game, D-backs lost, it was a bad outcome, but you stand outside the gate and you watch the fans kind of filing out, they don't look bummed. They're not, they're not like, there's a couple of the diehards that might be a little upset, but most of the people leaving the stadium, even after a loss, are smiling and they just had a great time with their family, their friends, their coworkers. Some of them probably don't even know what the score was or even who we were playing, right? But they had some good food, some good conversation, and they just feel like they got to escape reality for a couple of hours. And that's important stuff because we can control that side of it. So it's fascinating. That's awesome. Yeah.
Mike, what I love what you just shared, right? That it's about remembering those moments that I still remember. As you were telling me, I'm getting chills because I'm even remembering taking my son for the very first time. You're right. I have no idea what the outcome was. It was just like it was his first game. Or taking my daughter to a particular experience. But I remember my dad taking me to the Astrodome in Houston. You're right. As a kid, I have no idea what the outcome was, but I remember being there with him, right? And I think you're right. I mean, you're in these opportunities to create these moments in the lives of 30,000 people every single day. And what I love that you also were sharing too, right, was that you talk to your staff, you talk to your team. It's a team effort to build out this experience. And the D-backs here in Arizona have been known as one of the best places to work. Y'all built this amazing culture. Can you share with us a little bit more about that, about your leadership and the importance of building that type of culture here that again, it's an industry that's not the easiest industry to be a part of, but that people look forward to being part of this work?
Well, I appreciate that. And it starts at the top. Our owner, Ken Kendrick, our CEO, Derek Hall, they have basically instilled this culture now for almost 20 years of the employee comes first. And our employees are called team players. So the team player comes first. And we really all feel like we have ownership in this company. It's a big company. The D-backs have north of 400 full-time employees. And some people think, oh, what do you do in the off season? Does everyone just go? No, we are full time, 12 months out of the year. In fact, the off season is oftentimes busier than in season for some departments. But the employee comes first, and we feel like we wear this with pride. We show up every day to kind of go off what we just talked about. We know we're creating special moments for people in their lives and making their lives happier and spreading joy and spreading the gospel of the D-backs and trying to get people to experience this. And that fires us up. So the culture at the D-backs, and the reason we've been recognized for our culture, it starts with Ken and Derek, but every employee, every team player in the company, whether you're an intern all the way up through the leadership level, you feel invested. You feel like you matter. You feel like your opinions matter. You can speak up. You can share ideas, and your values kind of align with what the company's doing, where we're going, and that's powerful. And on top of that, it's really, really fun. And you're doing something that I grew up watching baseball as like an escape from reality. And now baseball is my reality. And, the joke is like, after a long day at work, working at the D-backs, I go home, I sit on the couch and I unwind by turning on the D-backs game. And it's like, you never really, because that's what I would do anyways. Right. So it's like, you never really separate the two, but it's fun.
That's awesome. So Mike, one of the things that we've been talking not only with guests, but I've seen as I've had opportunity to go around the country talking about the future of the human experience, is that in this world that we are constantly bombarded with measurements of something, digital experiences around something else, our brain responds differently to that versus the other side of our experience, which is we lean into like the connection, like the authentic connection and the human experience. And so I love that y'all are recognizing that too, that hey, there's a role that technology could play in our space, in our business, but at the end of the day, it's about the mom and the daughter and or the couple that comes in, or the dad that comes in for the first time, or what have you. That's really what this work is about. And with that said, how do you see this industry and this work that you get to do today? You've been doing it for 17 years now in the D-backs, but more than that in just the industry. Where do you see it going for the next 10 years into 2030s?
So the technology aspect of it, I see it continuing to assist and drive the sales portion of what we do. But to your point, it will never replace the service side of what we do. And I'll give you an example. So, we sell season tickets. That's our lifeblood. They're called Advantage memberships. It's a year-round membership, but it's essentially a season ticket package. And our season ticket holders are our most important fans. They are the ones that are committing to the most games, making a financial commitment to us. They're the most loyal, most exceptional fans that we have at our games. And so we need to make sure we're delivering on everything that we're promising to them. Buying a season ticket plan today is a complicated purchase. Back when I first started, it was you're buying a discounted ticket to 81 games, and you get your same seat, and there you go, have fun. Today, we've layered on all these additional benefits and events on top of it, where you're not just buying discounted tickets to D-backs games, you're getting access to member-only events, you're getting autographed items, player access, all these cool perks and benefits, discounts, all across the board. So it's a bigger kind of year-round type membership model. So the technology, I think, and as I see this evolving, the technology will make, hopefully there's ways through AI and just building out our website to make purchasing the season tickets a little more less overwhelming, less cumbersome. You're choosing your seat, you're choosing your package, you're choosing the benefits that you add onto it. But the service side, and here's what's interesting, we survey our members, we survey our season ticket holders throughout the year, constantly. We ask them what's working, what's not working, what's important to you, what do you value most. The number one benefit that they continue to tell us is the most important to them is having a dedicated service rep, having a live human being person assigned to their account that they get to know personally, that they can call, text, email, that they get to work with. They say that to them. Some of them have even said, hey, my rep is Kyle. I only renew my tickets because of Kyle, like those types of conversations. And it's because our service team, kind of going back to the moments, they're trained and they're incentivized to not only get their members to renew every year, but to deliver on these incredible experiences for them. We tell our service team, our philosophy is determine what your members' expectations are, So, everyone has an expectation going into this membership of, this is kind of the baseline, what I'm expecting to get out of this for my kids, my family, my business, what have you. And then go here. You don't have to go. You don't have to, with the thousands of members we have, you don't have to exceed their expectations and knock their socks off and blow them out of the water. But if you just go a little bit above what someone was expecting, they're in, then they could potentially be in for life. And that could be a surprise seat visit, leaving a gift for them, taking their kids on the field to watch batting practice, those little moments that you kind of think about. So we tell our team, just exceed their expectations a little bit, get a little bit ahead. And that makes a big difference. So technology may help us on the sales side. It will never replace that one-on-one human connection, that personalization to the product, especially on the season ticket side.
And if anything, that human connection, that human relationship becomes now the premium experience, right? That y'all are selling, right? That, the whole aspect of, for me to get to that seat is the barrier of figuring that out is starting to get lowered because technology and how we get to know. But now that I'm there with y'all for the next 2.5 to 3 hours, that becomes a very, very unique experience that could change every single game, right? You have every 81 opportunities to create very unique experiences for those individuals.
That's it. Yeah, awesome. 81 chances.
Yeah. Mike, again, thank you so much for being with us. So as we're wrapping up, one of the things I like to ask our guests is, what recommendations do y'all have to leave with our audience here if they want to navigate a little bit more about the insights for sales, leadership, culture, what have you? Do you have any book recommendations for them to look at?
Yeah, so I already mentioned How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. That is like required reading just to learn how to interact with other humans. To Sell as Human by Daniel Pink. That is a book, whether you're in sales or not in sales, it will open your mind to why those skills are important and how to even acquire those skills just in your day-to-day life. I'm a huge fan of that book. Start with Why by Simon Sinek. I'm a huge Simon Sinek fan, and the way he lays out his thought process on simplifying things and leadership and marketing. And then I'm a big fan of the author Ryan Holiday. He writes a lot of about like Stoicism and Stoic teachings, but he's got some great books out there. The Obstacle's the Way. You've read that? Okay,
yeah, that's a really good book.
That's kind of made its way around the sports world as a way to overcome adversity, and a lot of teams have picked it up. And he's been a guest speaker at some different teams. But he has another book called The Daily Stoic, and it is you read one page a day, and it's just these short little motivational kind of passages that you flip through, and you wake up, you read it for today, August 8th, August 9th, August 10th, and that has kind of kept me going too, as like a daily practice. But yeah, anything by Ryan Holiday is fantastic. Cool. Those would be the books that I would recommend to anyone, whether you're in sales or not in sales, just to kind of open your mind a little bit.
Awesome. Yeah. And we'll have links to that on the show notes here. With that said too, also, Mike, one of the things I also ask our guests is, what questions you might have for me? What curiosity? I mean, again, we've gotten to know each other over the last, almost a year now with our kids. Any questions you might have for me that you want to leave the audience with?
Yeah, when I first met you, you were Coach Eric, and coaching my daughter's soccer team. Now you're just Eric. So, we made it. But I think, I'm fascinated, and you asked me a question about this, just by technology as it evolves, as we continue. Artificial intelligence in the last year has just completely, almost grown to the point where you kind of get scared by it a little bit. But I'm curious, with your expertise and your background, how you think we can continue to harness technology in a way that continues to help humans and not hurt humans, and not hurt that human experience, but continue to boost it and elevate it and make it easier for people.
Wow, that's a great question. One of the things I started talking about back around in 2014, 2015 that I got really excited about was the exponential growth of computing, which basically means that computing power is increasing about 2 times every single year. But what happens with that is that creates like these gaps that feel like greater and greater every single time from a human experience, because we just think linearly. We don't think exponentially. And what has happened with AI over the last few years is that now it doesn't look like 2 times the difference. It looks like 10 times the difference. And now that exponentiality is now you're feeling 10x, 100x difference, right? And so it's fascinating to see what people's vision of the future is. More than likely, we'll get closer to that vision, right? It's always easier for us to think longer term than it is short term, right? We always underestimate the impact of the short term, but we probably overestimate the impact of the long term. And so when you're talking about the human experience being much more authentic in 2030, I could, with 90% certainty, see like, yeah, more likely that's going to be true.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how we get there with the technology piece, those are really big unknowns. With that said, what I think you could create, what the promise that we could have because of this work is that we start having, for example, fans that grew up in this space, being sports fans, now creating their own app, now creating their own experience, now creating, hey, you know what, this worked really good for the D-backs experience, or this works really good for the Southwest region because just the way that we work, or frankly, even here in Phoenix, that it's a very transient city, right? And so the solution of technology for a city like us probably might look very different than for a city, I don't know, for the Green Bay Packer fans, right? That they have a list of season, right? A list of season tickets. But that type of solution comes from a voice within those communities. And so more opportunity that we have to expose our kids or these next generations on saying, hey, how do you want to solve this problem either in sports or in this industry or in that industry, and just give them a voice. You'll be fascinated on how they navigate this. So I think we're entering this era where no longer we could say like, well, that's not how we did it. Because that's already a move, right? Yep. Because of technology, you have an opportunity to say, oh, how can we do it better? And I think if you're open to having those conversations and people sharing their perspectives and sharing their voices, as long as they're heard, they'll be part of that journey with you. Versus in the opposite way, they're like, hey, I'm just feeling being left behind. So just that little bit of just like, hey, I hear you, I listen to you, and this is how I feel I could serve you better, which is I think what perfect example with the work that y'all get to do. If technology could play a role in that, then the human experience will always be better.
It's amazing. Awesome.
Well, Mike, again, thank you so much for being with us here in the Future of the Human Experience. I look forward to not only staying connected, but also how can people stay connected with you?
Yeah, so you can find me on Twitter or X, I guess, LinkedIn, all the social platforms, and then dbacks.com is where you can find information on our tickets, our Advantage memberships, and all that fun stuff that we offer.
Awesome. Wonderful. Mike, thank you again so much for being with us today.
Thank you, Eric. Yeah, it was a pleasure.
Yes.